Do you keep getting the same pin jam call on the same lane and it's driving you crazy? Hey, 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 what happened? You all right? Let me help you up here. Oh, what happened to you, man? I keep getting the same call, the same lane, pin jam after pin jam. So you keep getting pin jams on the same lane over and over and you can't figure out what it is? It could be just as simple as a clutch. Let's come into the shop. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, we're going to touch a little bit on the clutch and why it be causing you so many pin jams. So this here is the clutch. This is what's responsible for helping the distributor be able to extend, come back, and move back and forth. And I'll show you guys some reasons why you might not be extending out the way you should, why it's too stiff, why it's too loose, and while it's being real hammy on going back and forth. And I'll show you one of the main things to check whenever you're first doing this is this spring here. Come a little closer, guys. Let me show you something. Now, this spring here is responsible for the tension that goes onto the disc. This is friction driven. So you need to have friction in here for this to work properly. If you don't, it's not going to work. So what could be going on is, now be careful when you pull this off, because if you let go of this, it's going to go and then possibly cut one of your fingers open. So you're going to turn it, bring it, slowly let it coil back. And I'm going to show you guys something here. Now, say it's on there, it's loose as a goose. That thing's too loose. It's going to cause your distributor to be too weak. It's not going to want to push out. It's not going to want to, after it trips the pins, it's not going to line back up like it should. And I'll show you what part I'm talking about. So you have these fingers right here. Fingers, whatever you want to call them. But they go up against part of the clutch to help keep it from spinning. Whenever the pins get to the fingers, it trips it. Boom. If you have it tight enough, trips it, boom, then lets it, and it'll keep moving. Now what happens if it's too loose, this will kind of trip, and this will just kind of fall in there and not really push itself forward. So then it gets jammed up in there. And then your distributor's not doing anything but jamming up. Now if you have this spring too tight, what it'll do is push so much force up against that this is having a hard time, and then it'll hit that, and then it doesn't want to come back up properly. And by the time it comes up, you already have 2-3 pins at the end of the distributor trying to drop, causing another pin jam. You also want to keep it oiled, because even if you have this spring tight where it should be, sorry guys, it keeps fading out, man. So even if you have this spring where it should be, if you don't have any grease on here, it's still going to get caught up. So what you want to do first is you want to make sure, that this spring has been tightened to where it needs to be. Typically it's like 3/4 turn, but really what you need to do is you need to get it on there, run your machine, see how your distributor goes. You want to run that through, see how your distributor runs. If it seems like it's running too weak, if it's not moving quick enough or strong enough, if it's trying to drop the pins but the fingers are staying down, you need to tighten that spring up. Now if it's having a rough time moving to where it needs to go and it's tripping out and it's bouncing around, you need to loosen that spring up some. Another thing could be, and I'll show you. Now, another reason that your clutch may not be working correctly, even if you have your spring on the way it should be and everything is greased up like it should, is when you pull your clutch off and you start to notice anything like this, then you got to know there's something wrong in there. Look at all that dirt. You don't want any dirt in there. Let's pull out this worm gear thingy. Then you open it up. If it looks like that at all, see all that oil in there? That oil is a no-no. That oil takes away from the friction that you need in there. And then you look in here and you see how it's been rubbing. And you can see the black marks. That's the oil in there that's rubbing. You want to get this cleaned up. You want to get this cleaned up. You want to get everything in there that's cleaned up. The only thing you don't clean up, so the only thing that should have grease in it is there's this sleeve here that goes on the shaft. Put a little bit of oil on that. Just a little bit. Not much, because you don't want it getting out and making its way into the clutch. The reason you just do a little bit on here, not on the inside, just the outside, is because this gear here slides over it, and it needs to be able to turn on there. I'll show you this gear on that distributor. All right, this gear is a little nasty looking, but you can see there's this gear here that's on this rod here, and it sleeves onto there, and it's got to match up with this point here, and that basically is what turns this the evolutions that it needs to turn. If you put this on incorrectly, this isn't going to line up right, and your distributor is going to be way out of whack. So if you've put one of these together and it keeps going out of whack for some reason, make sure you put this gear on right. And one way to make sure it's on right is there's a notch in it. I'll show you. You're looking, oh, where's that notch at? Well, right there. There's your notch. This notch here needs to line up with the little dot on the wheel. It needs to line up with this little guy right here, this little dot there. You line those up, and you're going to be lined up. If not, the distributor is going to do whatever it wants. So, when doing your clutch, check your spring. See if it's working right. See if it's tight enough, or if it's too tight, loosen it up some. If that's not fixing it, pull that clutch off. Check the inside. Look for any kind of oil. And if that doesn't work, you want to pull that clutch off, and you want to check the inside for any type of oil or anything like that. I was going to do one on the machine, but all the clutches right now are working really good, and I don't want to go and start messing with them. Also got lanes going. But you do not want the inside of your clutch plate to look like that. It basically, if you know transmissions and clutches, it kind of works the same as that. You got to have a nice clean clutch. Anything interfering it could cause the whole thing to go crazy. So make sure that spring is tight enough, but not too tight, because spring is actually pushing clockwise on that nut to keep that nut snug. You don't want that nut too tight, because if that nut's too tight, then it's going to clamp all that together, and then it's not going to work. It's got to be just right to where all that can slide in there. It's got to be right where this could slide around. Now you'd think, well, if you put oil in there, wouldn't that help? No, it'll mess it up. Friction. You want friction in that. Friction disc. So here it is from the backside. You can see it's not loose. But this also isn't so tight that it's going to tighten that nut and compress that all way too tight. You got to have some kind of play a little bit in there. And whenever you do go to assemble all this back on, you want to make sure that your distributor is all the way out facing towards the one pin. It will make it much easier on you. Now, this was just a short little video of kind of showing the clutch a little bit. If I need to get more in depth with it to show you guys more, I can. I'd like to be able to find a machine that actually needs one taken off and cleaned or replaced or adjusted. That way I can really show you what to do. But the biggest problem with the pin jams is typically caused by that clutch, whether it needs to be greased on them back fingers so it can allow it to move freely, or that spring needs to be either tightened or loosened a little bit. That really just depends on how your machine's acting. If it's sloppy and it's weak, you need to tighten it. If it's too stiff and it's not letting the pins drop off the fingers very well, like if the pin is coming up and it hits them fingers and it's not wanting to drop it, you might need to loosen that, see if that might be your problem. There's also a cable that runs on the side that you can kind of adjust. That's typically not the problem. Hey! Don't you see I'm kind of busy back here? I'm trying to become famous, and you guys are just interrupting my video. I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing, okay? Can you... Anyways, guys, so that's just a little example of the clutch. Make sure the inside of it's clean. There's no oil in there. The only place you want a little bit of oil is on that shaft that I showed you guys. And just check that stuff out. If that helps you out with something, awesome. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. So, all right, that was just a short little video of a clutch, a little just kind of what it is and what it's doing and what you need to do with the spring, and check the insides for anything like that. So, All right, guys. I'll see you on the next little short, tiny video. Yeah. Hey, don't forget to stop the video this time so they actually think we went down into an elevator. Oh, yeah. Bonus footage. I'm not very good at teaching people things, just so you know. Like, I can know how to do something. I've got it in my head. But when it comes to me explaining it, I'm not good at it at all. So if you guys don't understand what I'm explaining, that's why. That's why this isn't really like a how-to channel. Like, this isn't like, I'm going to teach, here's my knowledge, I'm going to teach you, because the knowledge is kind of locked in there, and I don't really know how to get it out and serve it on a platter to you guys. I'm going to try, I'm going to work on it, see if we can get better at teaching and things like that. I just like to show things and just have fun with it. That's basically what this channel is. But I'm going to try to get better for you guys about teaching you guys things and showing you guys how things work and how to fix them and adjust things like that. So just bear with me, guys. I'm trying to become a better teacher. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
I'll fix the pins and I oil the lanes. Got a toolbox full of rags and wrench.